He said, look good, feel good, play good, they pay good. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the same scenario that we think about with this enclosed cognition perspective of it's not the man, it's not the suit that makes the man, it's the man that makes the suit. 100%. And I'll never argue with anybody on that.
Welcome back to the podcast. I started this podcast as a way to help Black men in all aspects of our lives. Studies show on average we lose 2.8 years of our life when we're under heavy stress. And I think we can gain those 2.8 years back if we express ourselves healthily. Stick with me as I interview therapists, doctors, advocates, activists, and friends about how we can be better as Black men and as a Black community. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube and following us on Instagram and TikTok, you'll definitely want to do that. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, y'all. I'm here with NeAndre. He is the founder and CEO of Black Menswear. For those of y'all that don't know Black Menswear, y'all should definitely be tapped in with Black Menswear. I don't know if y'all have seen the flash mobs that Black Menswear does, where you have like a bunch of Black men in suits and dope attire going through different states and areas and stuff. So yeah, I should definitely tap in with Black Menswear. They're all over social media, making a lot of different ways, man. So, NeAndre, I'm glad to have you here, bro. How you doing, man?
No, I'm well, man. I appreciate you, and I thank you for allowing us to have the safe space on a platform. So from one platform founder to another, bro, I definitely appreciate what you're doing to open up this space for us and a safe space for us to continue to grow and mature as Black men. So, but I'm great, man. It's good to be here. Good to be with you, and definitely always great to bring Black menswear to the world.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. So let's talk about it, man. Like, cause I've seen a lot of the content that y'all have on social media. I've seen a lot of the activations that y'all do. So tell me, like, take me through the journey of like how you got started with Black Menswear and like what was the purpose behind Black Menswear? What is the purpose behind Black Menswear?
Yeah, man. So even to today, right? The story hasn't changed on our end because our goal is to change the narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Internally, you start internally, and once you address whatever issues you have in your internal, and then you can become better externally, right? And so our goal is as an organization is to really create this content that is so
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmingly positive that you have there's no other way that you can turn out, just as how the negative media has a imprint in our minds that makes it okay for us to fall into the system. This alternative approach to it makes it okay for us to succeed, makes it
Mm-hmm.
okay for us to be successful, makes it okay for us to be entrepreneurs and doctors and engineers and lawyers and educators, and just it gives us the safe space to scale ourselves up as a community,
Mm-hmm.
because we want to provide such ongoing positive content, right?
Right.
Positivity begets positivity. So the moral of our story is how much positive energy can we inject so that way the negative energy is not able to have space. It's really
Mm.
it's really what we're looking to do, right? And it came out of a lot of visuals that I saw of myself as a Black man, as a villain. When it came
Mm-hmm.
to the media's portrayal of me, became the media portrayal of those that look like me, it was often a perception that I didn't like, right? And it kind of makes you always think about, because as Black men, we have this trauma that not everybody else has. As Black people, let me say, we have this trauma that not everyone else has. Is that when we see all of these occurrences and instances, especially when it comes to police brutality, we can envision ourselves in those situations, and so you start to play it over in your head, like, well, what would have happened? How could it have happened? And then what they do after they walk you through this process of creating a villain to public media, then they portray the images of the individual in a way that's dark lighting and images that they use to equate to thug and those negative connotations, so that way now the public perception is, okay, well, this person deserved to die, right?
Right.
Long story short, like, forget all the justice system, forget all the right to a trial, forget all of those things. They should have been following the instruction. They should have complied, and you shouldn't have talked back, and all these kind of things, where it becomes your life is less than because you didn't do what you were told, right? You weren't the
Mm-hmm.
slave to the system at that point. And so having having so much negativity to tell you about yourself, I was like, nah, this can't be the way the story goes. They
Right.
can't, if something happens to me, they can't grab negative images of me and try to put it out there and say, well, this is why, because when he was 13, they found
Mm-hmm.
him with such and such, and when he was 19, he got caught with this. Like, no, that doesn't define who I am today, and that shouldn't be a reflection of who I am today. And so, how can we put out so much positive imagery around Black men
Mm-hmm.
that even when these instances happen and somebody goes and looks up images of Black men, they're only going to see positive lights.
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes more of, well, dang, why did the police do that versus why did the Black man do that, and why didn't the
Right.
police do it this way? Why didn't they do this? And so we are now humanized again in who we are. And again, that's even bigger when it comes to the children that see themselves in these images, when it comes to impressionable young men that see themselves in these images and like, oh, okay, well, that's where I'm supposed to go, because it always shows us in handcuffs and in prison suits and in subservient positions. And so
Right.
that was, that's our way to kind of combat that, to say, now the sky is the limit. We can
Right.
do whatever we want to do. We can go wherever we want to go. We can work with each other. We can, dwell in unity. We can
Mm-hmm.
come together. There's no violence. It's all peace. It's all positivity. We can't do that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's our mission.
Ma-
Uh,
mm, yeah.
long-winded answer.
Nah,
So,
nah, 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 man. I'm glad you got into it and you took us full circle with it, bro, because I think it's important for people to understand the vision. Like, of course, you could have gave us the 30-second spiel with the mission statement and all that. Like, of course, you could have done that. And I'm sure you do that on a day-to-day basis. But I'm glad you were able to take us through the story and what like it means to you, because it's important for people to understand that when they see Black menswear, like what sparked that, right? And like what the story is behind it, bro. Because a lot of times we see this content, we see you, we see, the flash mobs, but we really don't understand. Like, we understand to a certain degree, but we really don't understand like the level of effort and passion that went into creating that, right? And so that's why I like
yeah,
sitting down with founders. Like, you're a founder, but you're a creator, right? Like, you're creative,
yeah,
and that's kind of how I think of it. So I appreciate you sharing the story, because I think that's what I really heard was humanizing Black men,
yeah,
which is such an interesting concept. I don't want to say crazy, but to me it's kind of almost crazy in a sense, because it's like, why should we literally have to do the work to humanize ourselves now? Like,
right,
we've been dehumanized so much that we have to now do work to humanize ourselves in the eyes of society, when it's like we shouldn't even have to do that.
right,
But that's the reality that we live in. So I think that's part of what I try to do too with Express Yourself Black Men, is humanize the Black male experience, right? Because for a lot of us as Black men, it's like we don't, because society doesn't humanize us, we don't humanize ourselves. And it's hard for us to give ourselves common things that we give out to other people, like grace,
right,
like
right,
providing for ourselves, like
right,
forgiveness, right? Like, all these different things that should be common for us is difficult for us to give to ourselves, man. So I
yeah,
appreciate you saying that, because it's important for us to identify with that we are human, and that it's okay for us to identify as human. And that we do need to humanize ourselves, man. So that kind of leads me into what I wanted to ask you next, which is like, there's some like, I feel like when people see, at least for me personally, like, I've always had this kind of like interesting approach to like menswear, right?
mm,
Because I feel like sometimes I'm like, damn, like, do I need to dress up in a suit for me to be seen as a certain way? Do I have to wear a suit? Do I have to dress up this way? Or can I come the way that I normally come, which is like streetwear, right? And so what would you say to the person that's like, man, I don't want to dress up in a suit. I don't want to wear menswear. I don't want to have to present myself that way. What would you say to that person that has like that kind of thought process around menswear? Like, how would you like approach that kind of conversation? What are your thoughts? And like, have you had that kind of conversation before?
yeah. I mean, one of the things is that you always dress for the occasion, or you always dress for where you're going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I and two, one of the things I think about from the suit, like we gotta take this perspective of, I gotta be going somewhere to wear the suit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the thing about it though, right? The initial idea around suits is like, suits are synonymous with business, no matter what culture you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Suits are business. That's why it's the business suit, right? So if no matter, I've been in meetings in Asia, I've been in meetings in Europe, I've been in meetings in Africa, where people come in suits, right? If you say, okay, this is this setting, they're gonna pull up in their suit, no matter what culture they come from. It's synonymous with that. And so one of the things that I've had to overcome is like, when people say, throw out an asinine comment like, "Oh, you wearing a suit so you can be, dress up like the white man," and I'm like, okay,
Mm.
well,
Yeah.
That's not right. I'm wearing a suit because I want to be a businessman. I'm wearing a suit because this is what makes me comfortable, right? This is what allowed me to be able to tackle the day because I know the markets that I'm going into and those the type of garbs that you wear, right? You go to the gym, you're not going to wear a suit to the gym to work out in. So
Right.
just in those situations and circumstances, you have to be able to float with the need in certain situations and circumstances, right? So that's one of the ideas around it, right? So for me, my whole background in my career has been in financial services. So out the gate, I mean, first thing I ever had was a business suit because it was a requirement, right? Then as I grew up, I rose up the ranks and it became I kind of went into a different lane in financial services, kind of more of a business coach and less of a direct agent. Then I had a little bit more flexibility in how I wanted to approach the situation because they were seeking the mind that I had. But for me, even in that, it was still about like, yo, I just put my suit on, like I'm clean in the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, at this point, so I'm like, okay, well, and what I started to learn now, again, this goes back into a systems perspective, right? But this is for young folks, old folks, doesn't matter what your race is. What I started to learn is as I'm going into this room as a 30-year-old with all of this knowledge in my head, as soon as I walk into a room and an older white male or older Hispanic male, even an older brother or older white woman or black woman or Hispanic woman, they look at me and they say, oh, that's a nice suit you got on. Oh, I love what you did with that. What it did for me, what it does for me still, it breaks all the barriers down that I had of like, okay, am I worthy to be in this room, right? Then imposter syndrome. And so for me, once I get that first compliment, I've already won the meeting. You know what I'm saying? I've already won the sales pitch. I've already won because now the self-doubt that comes with most of us, now some people are able to overcome that and cool, you do you. But for others, right, how can I get into a sweet spot so that way I'm able to position the confidence that I need to have that outcome? And so for a lot of people, that's what that suit does for them within that space. And again, it's not to say that you cannot be successful without the suit, because that's a flat out lie. And it's not to say that all men in suits are good, because that's a flat out lie, right? This is to say that this method of enclosed cognition, because that's a sociological aspect to it, what you put on actually affects your output. They've done studies on it, right? So what you put on affects your output when it comes to testing, when it comes to work output. It actually is reflective of what you put on. Now, Deion Sanders said it in a lot smoother flow. He said, look good, feel good, play good, they pay good. And that's the same scenario that we think about with this enclosed cognition perspective of it's not the suit that makes the man, it's the man that makes the suit. 100%. And I'll never argue with anybody on that. But when I realize the experiences that I've had when it comes into, that confidence that I get when I put that suit on, I step in, that's me going into a different realm. Now I've been able to now take that and say, well, I just love suits. So I'm gonna wear suits in a casual fit. I'm gonna wear it with t-shirts. I'm gonna wear it with, with shorts. I'm gonna wear, with tennis shoes. I'm gonna rock it in my whole, however I want to rock it, which is cool. Just like anybody else would rock their styles, but not being afraid of the suit and not saying that the suit, well, you just put on a suit because you're trying to be like A, B, and C. No, I'm putting on the suit because I look good in it. But then also for me in the realms that I'm trying to get into and the rooms that you're trying to get into, there are times where you have to be able to make connections in different ways. And for me, at times, the suit is that initial connection. Like I can make a connection because based on how the drip is. And if I can do that and leverage that, and now that I got your ear, bend me your ear. Now that I got your ear, you're like, okay, this brother knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And it just helped me to scale to get through that first layer so much easier. Yeah. Now again, that's for me, and that's for people that are kind of tapping in and tuning into the movement and understanding that component of it. But again, if it can help anyone to think more highly and more optimistic about themselves, right? You see a black man in a suit as president, you're like, shit, I can be president too. You know what I mean? Like it turns that opportunity on for you, and representation matters, right? We have the representation that they all. The outside forces try to curate or craft this representation model of what it means to be a true black person, right? And now that's become ingrained within us. And so again, this societal battle of, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to feel as though I got to get into, it's not that you have to change who you are. It's just like you putting on other clothes, just like you do in every other situation, right? It's
Right.
just being comfortable in that and finding the way that it hits for you. But there are studies really around this enclosed cognition study that talk about what you put on affects your output, and we want to put as positive of output as we can of our community as it affects us, and they see visual representation of themselves. They will start to think differently about what their outcomes can be. And if that affects 20 people in a positive way, shoot, that's 20 testimonials we going for.
Right.
If it didn't help nobody else, dang, unfortunately our mission wasn't for them, and our voice wasn't for them for that instance. But those people that it did help, that weren't getting help any other way, and they found themselves in this lane and they can be cool with that, damn, that's what God has put us here to do.
Yeah, man, I love that, bro. I love connecting it back to the vision, bro. And I love that enclosed cognition, because that's the first time I've heard about that, but it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
Just understanding that what you put on does have an effect on you. I think anybody will say that when you put on it doesn't even have to be a suit, right? When you put on a fly fit and okay, what I got on right now is it, right? The people looking at what you got on, they're like, damn, like this brother has it put together right now.
Exactly.
Right? Like you feel completely different from wearing
your chest out there.
Yeah, right. You feel completely different from you just wearing gym shorts and a shirt, right? Like it's completely different vibe, different energy that you're gonna exude when you're in that outfit that you feel like him in, right? So I'm glad that you talked about that. Yeah, him. Not really. That really is it, right? Like that really is it, bro. So I wanted to talk about the imposter syndrome, bro, because that's really important, man. Like you touched on a really interesting, important topic that I feel like a lot of us deal with as Black people. And I remember I'm gonna do a webinar one of these days, and I asked like the community, I said, what would y'all want me to do webinar on? I talked about relationships, I said therapy, I said depression, and I said imposter syndrome. And I just threw the imposter syndrome in there just because I was like, you know what, maybe somebody will be interested. Bro, that was the most requested one, like imposter syndrome, out of even depression, right?
Yeah.
So I think when we talk about like how to deal with, how to deal with imposter syndrome, we need to understand, like, first of all, a lot of us deal with that one.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want to ask you how you deal with it specifically in your lane. Like, how does that look for you, bro?
Man, honestly, for me, there are even still times now I still deal with it, especially now the conversations that are now being had on a larger scale. But at the end of the day, it does come back to how confident I feel in myself, right? I've laid the foundation. I've laid the I've planted the seeds for this harvest. I always talk about my team. My team probably gets annoyed with how much I talk about seeds for the harvest, because it's always like, well, this isn't happenstance. This has happened because of what we did 6 months ago, right? This is what we did 18 months ago. That's now coming to fruition. And so just thinking about it and understanding the full process, I think is something that helps us to really combat that imposter syndrome. But I think one of the things too that helps us is when we celebrate the wins along the way. I think that helps us to get more comfortable in the skin that we're in, and saying like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. I am him, because this is stage 3. I've already been through stage 2, right? So now that I'm at stage 3, and again, I have the privilege of speaking in front of a lot of people a lot of times, right? Through both Black Menswear and my role in financial services and my business coach perspective. So every time I'm on stage, I'm always like, what is it? Am I supposed to? Am I supposed to be here and make sure you tell them what they? But it's like, no, bro. You've studied, you have the knowledge, you have the delivery, you've done this hundreds of times. Like, but it still creeps in, because you're like, well, what about today? What if today I mess up, and then all the work that I've done in the past is now null and void because I said something stupid on stage today? And then it becomes all right, well, they're gonna get me anyway, so it is what it is. And once the word starts coming out, and my imposter syndrome really comes when I'm on stage, right? And it's like, bro, you ain't supposed to be here speaking in front of thousands of people. Like, you're not. And then again too, always right before I get on stage, or I'm either getting mic'd up or I'm walking through a corridor, or somebody like, hey bro, that suit is clean. At that moment, I'm like, all right, oh yeah, y'all go get this, y'all go get all of them, y'all go get all the swag, y'all get all of that, because now I've been able to kind of rebuild that confidence and really, again, combat that imposter syndrome. But it still creeps in. I mean, it does. And but when we become confident in our experiences, as we become more confident in who we are, what we bring to the table, understanding our value, understanding our worth, I think a lot of that still goes, it starts to go away, or diminishes the amount of imposter syndrome we have. But I think a lot of that comes back to how we pour into ourselves, right? What type of words of affirmation are we doing? What type of prayer, meditation, what type of things do we do to pour into ourselves? So that way we know, one, it's not just us on an island. Like, we do have a community or unity, back to Black Menswear, what we try to do in that space of being that community. But then two, it's like, you got it. You got exactly what you need to be in the spot that you're in today, which is why you're there. I live by this motto too, which is I am the best version of me ever created. Right? Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But am I the perfect me? Yeah. Cause ain't no other models. This is the only model. This is the only NeAndre Frank Broussard in the whole world. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of me. And don't be taking, yes, my middle name is Frank, right? So like but once I started experiencing that and realizing that, it's like, all right, bro, you here because somebody invited you here to do exactly what they saw you do before. Right? Somebody invited you to this conversation because somebody else referred you. Somebody invited you to this meeting because of the work that you did on XYZ project. Like, so these are all things where it becomes, all right, we build up that confidence. We know we're worthy of being here. So let that doubt go. Because one thing is, too, not an opponent, but somebody else can see that in you, because your confidence ain't all the way there. You kind of start stumbling over your words, and you start to think, and you looking over in space to find stuff. Like, nah, you gotta be there, because at the end of the day, then it's you selling you, or you presenting you, or whatever, the outcomes are gonna be, it's based off of you. And so knowing that, and don't let that imposter syndrome mess up your blessing. You know what I'm saying? Don't let that happen.
That's real, bro.
You're supposed to be there. That's why you there. So go and
Yeah.
shine and do what you're supposed to do in that room.
Nah, absolutely, bro. You just said you just mentioned a lot of gems, bro, because I feel like a lot of times for us, the imposter syndrome comes when we start doubting, right? Like,
Yep.
and we don't recall like all that we've accomplished. And it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? Because I think for a lot of us that are high achieving, quote unquote, right, or quote unquote successful, we have this thought process around like how we achieve our success, which is like anytime we achieve something new, we're always aiming for something else. So like we celebrate it for like 2 minutes, maybe.
Right. And we
Right.
go. Yeah.
And then we go and try and accomplish something else. And then what ends up happening is, as we're going to hit these new milestones, like we're accomplishing new things, and we're hitting new areas that we weren't in before. And now the imposter syndrome kind of creeps in. And we haven't even recognized that in the past, like the goals that we have set for ourselves, like we hit those because we didn't actually take time to celebrate it, because we're so high achieving. Right. And so all of those things kind of cycle and play into each other. We're so high achieving, so we're always putting ourselves in new rooms and new situations. But because we don't actually celebrate these things, like when we get into these new rooms, we're doubting ourselves and our capabilities. Right. So what you said makes a lot of sense about taking time to celebrate what you've accomplished. And what I always tell people when I'm talking about imposter syndrome is, take those accomplishments and use them as like testimonies for your character and like how much and like what you've done, right? Because what you need to do when you're experiencing that imposter syndrome is go back to building confidence in yourself. And I think for you, what it is that fit, and having people come up to you, be like, yo, bro, this is it. Like you looking dapper. And I think for a lot of other people, if it can't be the fit, it can be you going back in your, going back in time and realizing there was a time where you had goals that you wanted to hit, that you actually did hit, that were in direct relation to what it is that you're doing right now. And again, like what you said, which is perfect, like understanding that at the end of the day, you're in the position you're in because of your experience, because of your talent, because of your skill, right? And not discounting that, because that's very, very, very important, man. And I love that affirmation too, bro. I'm the best. I'm the best version of me I ever created. Man, that's deep.
I do too, man. I start even from the affirmation perspective, man. I started with my boys. I do affirmations every morning with my boys on the way to school.
I love that.
We've been doing that for 2 years now, right?
I love that.
And even still, right? Even from their perspective, they'll do stuff, and I'm like, hey, bro, give me C. So I am confident. Okay, yeah. You can't say it. You can't affirm it about yourself if that's not who you are. Now, granted, you know what I'm saying, there are definitely definitely working through them until they hit their stages. But shoot, we started at a young age, man.
Mm-hmm.
Affirmations. The world is not going to tell you that you are less than, because I'm going to tell you, and you're going to tell yourself every single day that I am, I
Mm.
am awesome. I am brilliant. I am confident. I am a leader. I am marvelous. Like these things that Joe, the more you hear it, the more truth it has in it, which again comes back to the platform. The more you see it, the more it's not far-fetched. The more you
Right.
see it, the more it's not uncommon. The more you
Mm-hmm.
see it, the more it's like, okay, that makes sense. Like I don't have to be like what they got suits on for. You
Right.
won't be that way. You're gonna be like, oh shoot, bro, y'all bros look clean. You know what I'm saying? What's going on today? How was
Mm-hmm.
your day? Not a
Mm-hmm.
what you got a suit on for. Like that's two different,
Yeah,
what
those
I'm
two different
saying? Two
energies,
different
right?
dynamics. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you right. So I want to ask you. So how young did you start with your boys? Like I know you said you've been doing it for 2 years. Like when did you start?
So my boys are 7 and well, they just turned 8 and 7.
Okay.
So I started with them. They started going to the same school 2 school years ago, right?
Mm,
So my youngest was 5 and my oldest was 6 when I
mm,
started the words of affirmation every morning.
mm,
Even if
mm-hmm,
I'm on the road, they'll FaceTime me in the morning. My wife will FaceTime me when they're in the car on the way to school, and I'll do my words of affirmation with them every morning
mm.
because they got it. And two, like it's gonna sink in. And right now, half the words they don't even understand what it means.
Right,
Right? They're like,
right,
I know, I know what it means, what confidence means, but I don't know how do I exude that, Dad? Like I know,
right.
and it's just kind of again coming back to, son, you remember what you did? You got 99 on the test. You know what I'm saying? You have confidence in that. You go everywhere. You make friends wherever you go. Have confidence in that. You when we ask you to help out and do support and do these kind of things, son, you do it. Have confidence. And all confidence is knowing that you possess inside of you what it is that that's needed in certain situations and circumstances, and just
Mm-hmm.
letting it marinate and sit with them. But to that point, and I started them young because again, I don't want them to get to a point where one person speaks negatively in their life and they think that that's all that there is. They've
Right.
got there's so much hater blockers that have been built into their head, into their minds from a young age, that's what I in order for them to be able to go into this real world, I feel like that's an important part of it to gear them up and get them ready to fight the world.
Nah,
Unfortunately.
yeah, no. Nah, it's I mean, you can look at it from however you want to look at it. I don't even think it's unfortunate, bro. I think it's actually I think when we think about affirmations and us having to do that with our kids, I think it's a fortunate thing because while we're doing it to also protect them from the world, it serves multiple purposes, right? Like it's a tool that they can use to protect themselves from negative energy, but it's also a tool that they can use to give themselves that positivity and that optimism and just that affirmation and validation that any human being is going to need. So I
Yeah.
think of it as a positive thing. And I can't wait till I have kids to be able to do affirmations with them because I know so many black men specifically, right, that have so like fragile egos, bro. Like
Yeah.
and
Right.
one
Right.
word, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I know words hurt, right? Like we got to be mindful of the things that we say, the weight that someone else's words carries on that person's
Yeah.
self-esteem or confidence,
Yeah.
right? Like their whole like being is in the balance, is hanging in the balance based off of what somebody has to say about them or what
Right.
somebody thinks about them. And I think when
Right.
we think about that, it really is because of low self-esteem, low
Yeah.
self-confidence, right?
Yep.
And that is a byproduct of not being affirmed growing up, not having that validation
Correct.
growing up, right? So when I think
Correct.
about what you're doing with your kids, I think is important, right? Like because it combats that, which is just a lack of proper personal development or self-development growing up. So I love hearing about any type of parenting technique that has anything to do with affirmations. 'Cause I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
already listen, man. You're already 10 steps ahead, bro. You know,
Yeah.
so many of
Man.
us didn't grow up with affirmations, bro.
Right.
Like even
Right.
saying affirmations to ourselves or getting affirmed from our parents. So hearing that, I'm always glad to hear that, bro, because I feel like every parent should be practicing affirmations with their kids,
Yeah.
bro. Every
Yeah.
parent should be doing that, man. Man, that's super dope, man. Oh
Appreciate it.
man, do you want to talk about? Can you talk about like the things that we've been talking about privately, or no? Like, is that
Yeah.
not
Absolutely.
okay?
Absolutely.
Cool. So
Absolutely, man.
let's. Oh yeah, actually, I think y'all did come up. So let's talk about it a little bit, bro. Let's talk about the summit and like what's going
Yes.
on there, bro. Please tell the people what's going on with the summit, man.
No, man. So the summit is our way to take the energy and the like the energy and the aura that we get from the flash mobs that we've done
Mm-hmm.
all over the world, right? So now to date, we've done I think 31 flash mobs total
That's dope.
across the world,
That's
from
dope, bro.
Paris to Accra, Ghana, to LA to New York to Miami to Houston to Dallas to what I'm saying, Chicago, Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
Toronto, New York, Philly, Baltimore, like, what I'm saying, we all over,
Man,
right?
man.
And what we've noticed within that, like, guys, a lot of guys travel with us. So they'll go to multiple cities because they understand the power of the connectivity. They
Mm-hmm.
understand, like, oh, this is my tribe. So where's my tribe going to be at? So I can get poured into. You know what I'm saying? And
Right,
so
right.
for us, it was a it was that same idea, but how do we bring it together in one location, bring partners together like the Black Man Can, the Black Wealth Renaissance, the Black Dad, the Dad Gang, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Black Menswear. How do the four of our tribes come together to create this one strong unit of Black men that
Mm-hmm.
allows for us to have this safe space to grow, right? So this is our
Mm-hmm.
first ever Black Men Summit. It's subtitled Let's Build,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's build community, build our legacy, build our health, and build our wealth. So as Black men, what can we do together? And we coming together for one day, one full day. Let's chop it up. Let's talk through it. We got some really dope panelists, including yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right, to come and be a part of this conversation. To where it's like, yo, if we can just spark the conversation, do you know how much things progress when somebody starts the conversation,
Right.
right? And then allowing us to have a safe space to talk the way we talk, to react to each other the way that we react to each other.
Yeah.
And then to be able to go from there and initiate more just in that safe space of being in that room. So the Black Men Summit is our way of bringing that together. Again, we've got 4 dope platforms, from Black Menswear to the Dad Gang to Black Wealth Renaissance and the Black Man Can. All 4 of these are led up by brothers trying to change our space the way that we can, right? Black Menswear changing our cognitive thoughts of ourselves, right? And also changing the narrative of who we are as a people internally. The Dad Gang is breaking down stereotypes as it relates to Black fatherhood. You
Mm-hmm.
got the Black Man Can, who's encompassing everything that it relates to the Black man has no limits. And then
Mm-hmm.
you got Black Wealth Renaissance, which is like, okay, yo, let's get this money. And how
Mm-hmm.
do we get this money in a lot of different ways? How can we come together to get this money? And how can we make sure that we have a legacy worth of dollars that we can pass down to our kids? And so us having this kind of like this, like, it's going to be so dope just because beautiful thing about it for our queens, Black women have a lot of outlets for stuff like this, right?
Bro.
You got
Oh
Summit
my god.
21, you
Bro.
got Essence Fest. I mean, there are a lot of spaces for them, and no knock on
Bro.
it, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
not a
not.
lot.
Yeah, but
It's not a lot for Black men, right?
mm-hmm.
From what I know, I mean, you got us and you got the Blueprint Summit, I believe, by Lewis Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, Black Man Heal, I saw that they went on a tour this past year.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I don't know of any staple Black male empowerment event. I remember TD Jakes used to have one thing that he did, right? But other than that, man, Black men don't have a safe space to be vulnerable, to pour into each other, and to get ideas and amplify business and amplify who we are. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where we're really, really excited about the summit, to be that outlet. This is our inaugural year. Shoot, I can't wait till year 5, and we throwing a big old party around it. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be that space for us to grow and cultivate who we are as Black men.
Yeah, man. I'm excited, bro. Like I said, anything that I can do to help, any way in which I can facilitate conversation or engagement, bro, let's do it. I
No,
completely
absolutely,
agree, bro.
absolutely,
Yeah.
man. And we appreciate that. For anybody that's interested, want to find out more, you can go to blackmensummit.com. Straight like that, blackmensummit.com. You can also go to any of our Instagram profiles and click on the link in bio. It'll take you right to it. But blackmensummit.com. You've also got at the Black Men Summit on Instagram too. You can find more information there. But again, man, we just want to revolutionize what it's like to be a king, and
Mm-hmm.
provide a safe space to cultivate that true growth and that true community. Like that's all we want to do with this. So this is not a self, one of them self uplifting things, a self aggrandizement. Like, yo, look, we did a summit. They
Mm-mm.
don't give a crap about that.
Yeah.
We provided a safe space for brothers, and they left there motivated, inspired to take over their communities and to put the Black man at the forefront of the community the way it should be, right? And again, I say this to our queens, like, our Black women take on a heavy load. And so, if we can step up and kind of come back into that to be an equal partner in there, I think it's going to make our community that much even the more stronger. Because at the end of the day, Black women, you know, they love and support us, but that's exactly it. They will love and support us. And so if we have brothers that will come to the forefront to take those leadership roles, they are going to support us and love us. They're going to criticize us and tell us what we're doing wrong, but we need that. You know what I'm saying?
We do, bro.
But we gotta now become equal partners again in this thing, because they've carried the load for us for so long. So it's time for the brothers and the kings to step back up, to come in and relieve that stress and all that pressure that they have on themselves and balance this whole thing back out.
Yeah, bro. I completely agree with you, bro. I am so excited for this, man. I'm so glad you talked about Black women too, because I feel like a lot of times there's this misconception that once we have spaces for Black men, that Black women are somehow like excluded from that, and that's not necessarily what the situation is. Like, we understand the role that our sisters play in our community, and we need them and we need their voices. And I implore Black men to stop thinking that we can get past, like we can move forward as a community without the voices of Black women. We need their voices, we need their guidance, we need their counsel.
Absolutely.
We need to include them in these efforts so that we know how we move forward in our communities, because ultimately we're building with them. Like, they're in the community.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, can't build without them. So we need their voices, bro. So, man, NeAndre, please, can you tell the people where to find you, how they can get involved, anything that you guys got coming up outside of Black Men Summit? I know we just talked about that, but anything else that you guys got coming up, any more flash mobs or anything like that, bro? This has been a dope episode.
For sure. So for me personally, you can find me on the gram at Mr. You got to spell all the way out, Mister Broussard, Broussard, at Mr. Broussard on social for all Black menswear things. You can find us at Black Menswear, except for TikTok. TikTok is the Black Menswear. Website, blackmenswear.com. The Black Men Summit at the Black Men Summit, or you can go to blackmensummit.com to reserve your tickets. It is September 22nd here in Dallas, Texas. And we're very excited about that. We've got one more flash mob, two more. We've got one this weekend. So we're going to Toronto this weekend, which is going to be super dope. And then we have Miami in December to round out the year after the summit in October. And then one last thing we've got in September, we've got our annual event is called the Southern Classic. It is a polo classic meets the Derby Day in downtown Dallas for upwardly mobile millennial Black men and women. This is our 4th annual. It's on September 24th. That event, it's August 29th right now. And we actually just had to open up more tickets as of this morning for that event. So basically, we kind of sold out first wave. We're really excited about that event because it's always a good time. So the Southern Classic, Black Menswear, Baddie Brunch come together for the Southern Classic. That will be in Dallas also September 24th. So we got, the back half of the last quarter of the year is going to be a little bit busy, but it's in God's hands, man. We just running the race.
Listen, bro, that's how it's supposed to be, bro. That's how it's supposed to be, man. I'm excited. So for those of y'all, the Black Men Summit is October 22nd, right?
Yes, sir. October 22nd for the summit.
Yeah, for the summit, go get your tickets at the Black Men Summit on IG or Black Men Summit on IG.
The Black Men Summit on IG, blackmensummit.com. Go take you right to it as well.
Absolutely. All right, NeAndre, thank you so much, bro. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you got to get to the family, bro. I appreciate you, man. I
appreciate you, bro. For real. And again, thank you for the space to share. Because again, that's what it's all about. Sharing the mission, sharing the movement, getting more people involved and engaged with it. Not only on my end, but on your end, man. Sharing this movement of expressing yourself. It's okay. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to not be okay. Yes, so sir. I appreciate you, brother, for giving us that space.
Absolutely, bro. I can't wait to build, bro.
All right, for sure.
Yo, I'm excited, man. We're currently building the exclusive community, and it's going to have so many dope features. We're partnering with a Black organization to offer low-cost therapy to each member of the exclusive community. And when I say low cost, I mean that members will be able to get therapy sessions for less than $50, regardless of who they are and where they are. We're also going to have free ebooks and courses, including both the Hurting to Healing ebook and the therapy ebook I'm currently writing, live podcast episodes where you'll be able to interact with the guest and I in real time, community forums, exclusive merch, and categorized content so you can easily find information that may be useful to you. So go to expressyourselfblackman.com/therapy and register for early access. It's literally a 30-second process. I just need your name, email, and social media handle to make sure you get access before anyone else. And before I dip, I just want to thank you for your support. Without people like you, none of this would be possible. I can't wait to see you when we launch.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. Shoulder to lean on somebody you could preach to. No, you need to hear it, my brother, I love you. We got way too much to live for.